buns were hiding, those 3 dogs were hiding something.
We'll give them extra sweets.
We should be able to just hit the arrow button.
Okay, hit the arrow button.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, nice. Om Gyativanandasya, Gyananjana Shalakaya, Chakshulam Navatamena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him. All right, so this is, anyone recognize this place? This is Disneyland.
Disneyland.
Anyone ever went there before?
Unfortunately.
We've got a few. One in Florida, one in California. So yeah, as this is titled How Walt Disney Ruined Our Love Lives, the Myth of Happily Ever After. Alright, so this is Mr. Walt, Mr. Disney. He has a quote here. I love Mickey Mouse more than any other woman I have ever known. Walt Disney. So we see that what he did practically, creating Disney, he would take stories that were meant to be cautionary tales that had a very serious purport or very serious meaning that would teach people lessons that would help them in challenging times. So he took such stories and Disneyfied them. He made them very entertaining, very, I don't know what word do maybe whimsical, and each of them ended with, and they lived happily ever after the end. So pretty much what he did is he just like squeezed the lessons out of these particular stories. Now, the point of this talk is not, by the way, I'm not going to go into a whole thing about Walt Disney, so but what we're going to do is we're just going to look at one particular story that he changed, and we're going to look at the original story, and then see what we can learn from it, the original story. Yeah, based on the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and Krishna consciousness. So, yes. Not sure what that thing is that originally was there, but that's okay. Cool.
It's the TV screen, actually. So
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So this is Notre Dame, Paris, France, 1482. This is a church there. This is where the story takes place. Does anybody know the story that happened, the Disney story?
Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So another scene. The tower. Church. So, in the world of religion, or the world of spirituality, they have managed to get a lot of criticism from people, materialistic people, or atheistic people, or scientific people, scientific communities. And whether it's Christianity, or whether it's Hinduism, or whatever particular tradition. We're not picking on any traditions here, by the way. They have been tagged, or they have been stamped as sentimentalists, or fanatical, or a lot of the times they've been seen as hypocrites. They have been seen as hypocrites because they teach one thing, they teach very, say, high ethics or morals or certain principles that people should live by according to them, but then they don't follow them, and especially the leaders. They get a lot of criticism for this. And much of the criticism I can agree with, and I could understand. That it is true, there is a lot of hypocrisy in religion, and that's why a lot of people don't like it. So it makes sense. We'll get more into that. So here, on the left, you have Quasimodo. On the right, you have Frollo. So Frollo is the priest of the church. And to be a priest in a church or whatever, temple or whatever, mosque, or to be a church in a religious facility means that one should be experiencing higher pleasure, higher happiness. They should be striving for higher ideals and not really be bound to all the typical illusions of this world or typical traps of this world. So Frollo was the priest, and Quasimodo was like his son. Actually dropped him off on the steps of the church. So it was like a very close relationship they had. So this is Phobos. So Captain Phobos, he's another person in the story, and here he's seen Esmeralda for the first time. Very beautiful woman, Esmeralda. So Phobos has seen Esmeralda, and he's captivated. This is a particular. And captivated means, of course, to feel attraction, sexual attraction is not, it's not unnatural. It's natural, it's built into the body, it's built into the mind for certain reasons. But there's a particular point when something can just hijack our consciousness to the point where it's just, like unhealthy. So everybody would agree that to, what's an example? Everybody would agree that eating is normal and natural and something we have to do. But there's a particular point where it can be unhealthy. So yeah, he felt attraction to Esmeralda, naturally. But this attraction became very intense to the point it came to the point where it was like a possessiveness, a selfish possessiveness.
Suspense. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Right.
Right.
This time we should be
Should be good. Sorry.
You should be flying.
flying, yeah.
Make sure the phone screen doesn't lock.
Yeah. All right, so this is Esmeralda. Phobos was very attached to her, possessive to the degree it was unhealthy. So they fell in love. See this beautiful scene, Paris, right? So romantic. Anyone been to Paris before?
No.
Never been.
All right, I won't spoil it for you. I won't tell you something about it. So, yeah. So they fell in love, and Frollo, the priest, he didn't like that because he also had attachment to her, unhealthy attachment, wanted to possess. So he decided to, let's say, remove Phobos from the scene.
Wow.
And it wasn't him, actually it was him directly. So he went and he killed Phobos. But then what happened is he actually framed Esmeralda. So one thing is that he was so envious, he wanted Esmeralda, and Esmeralda was with Phobos, he fell in love with her, right? So then Frollo, the priest, he came and he killed Phobos, and then he framed Esmeralda. She did it. So you can see how terrible. So Phobos dies at the hands of priest Frollo. He died. So Esmeralda, she was being framed. So then at this particular point,
I can, if you want, I can be your professional scroller.
so Esmeralda, so she was being framed. I can do it.
Good.
So she was being framed, and then what happened is she ran off to the church, and actually didn't run off. Quasimodo captured her because they were going to execute her. So and he yelled out, "Sanctuary, sanctuary," means that you can't come in here. It's the church. You know, this is off limits. So she's protected. So while she was in the church, still Frollo the priest, he was trying to seduce her. He was trying to force himself. Force a relationship with her, but she wasn't agreeing. And we see this in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna explains that Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsa Sangasteshu Bhajayate, that when we meditate on the objects of the senses, or when we meditate on something we want, just like, for example, Apple, they're always coming out with a new phone. Not always, but often. And they do a very good job of convincing people that, hey, time to get the new phone. And it really gets into our mind. So yes.
It's got a new button.
Oh, really?
It's got a new button.
Oh, you should have told me.
That's it. Now we
You
want.
shouldn't have told me.
So people, so like that in the world, we meditate on something, and our desires grow. We want that, whatever it may be. So Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that we have to be careful about this, because if we meditate on something, it may, again, hijack our consciousness, and we may get ourselves into trouble. Just like, what's going on here in the story. There's a lot of trouble happening. So if we could learn the art of meditating on that which will not cause us bondage, namely Krishna, or meditating on absolute truth, then we can free ourselves from a lot of trouble. So then, what happens is, so eventually Esmeralda, she's captured from this particular church somehow or other, and she's executed. Now, all the while, Frollo the priest, he's seeing this from the towers, and he's looking down, and he's laughing. And Quasimodo, who also had affection for Esmeralda, he was just crushed. So what he did is right when Frollo was there, looking over the tower laughing, he just pushed him over. This fatherly figure of his, Frollo, the priest. So Quasimodo killed him. So you have Frollo there falling to his death. So now you have Phobos, die, and you have Frollo the priest, he died, and you have Esmeralda. And so the last person is Quasimodo. And it says that he was feeling so much pain and so much anguish from all of this that what happened is they actually found like the bones, Hunchback of Notre Dame. They found his bones there by the grave of Esmeralda. He was feeling so much pain. So in this way we could see Krishna's teaching, Dayato Vishampam, so we had to be very careful. So we could see how Mr. Disney, he just like really switched things up. It's meant to be a cautionary tale in which we're supposed to learn these things. Hey, be careful, it's a dangerous world. But he changed it up to I think nobody died, and everybody lived happy ever after, including Quasimodo. But that wasn't the original story. And he did this with numerous stories. Quite interesting. And we many of us, if not all of us, maybe all of us in this room, we grew up watching such things. And it gets into our mind, okay, we live happy ever after. Now, it doesn't mean that we're not meant to be happy. We're meant to be happy. We are, by nature, full of happiness. But simultaneously in this world, it's dangerous in many ways. There are cautionary tales like this that teach us certain lessons that, yes, we're meant to be happy. And if we do operate in a particular way, noting these types of stories, then it is possible. But if we just think, okay, hey, it's all just, there's not going to be any problems, there's not going to be any difficulties, everything's just like Disneyland, then it's not really going to work so well. So yeah, Krishna is explaining this in the Bhagavad Gita. Here's a nice. You read Bhagavad Gita, and you lose half of your head. Just joking.
Where is that Gita? Give it to me.
Oh, you want to lose half of your head? I like this picture. I thought it was interesting. But you read Bhagavad Gita, and you get all types of good ideas. You become inspired. You become enlivened. You become very energized to seek. Seek after the absolute truth, seek higher truths. Bhagavad Gita also explains how we're not our body, we're not the physical body, and we're also not the mind or the subtle body. So there's the subtle body, and then there's the physical body. So we're not those, but we're the spirit soul within the body, which animates the body. So the example is given of a cage. So you have a cage here. There's a bird cage. So the cage is like the body. Yes, we do take care of it. You have to take care of the cage. Like if you have a bird, you have to take care of the cage also. But to neglect the bird, that's not very wise. So similarly, we take care of the body, right? We have to sleep, we have to, we're gonna have our dinner soon. In so many ways we take care of the body, which is good, it's important, it's like a machine. We have to take care of it. But simultaneously, we want to feed our true selves, our soul. Also, examples given, the body is like a car. Of course, nowadays, sometimes, maybe we should change the examples. You have cars that are just driving without a driver. I was in Los Angeles recently, and we were driving, and then we look over it, and then somebody says, "Oh, it's one of those. What are those cars called?"
Self-driving car?
Yeah, self-driving car, but it's like it had a particular name for it, but
Tesla?
no, it wasn't a Tesla. It was another car. It's kind of like a government. They're doing something with the government.
It's like an Uber, but it like drives itself.
Yeah, it's like an Uber, but it drives itself. So we're looking, and they said,
Waymo.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, I'm sure they have them here in New York, but maybe. I don't know. I don't spend much time here, but and last time I was here was 2015. First time. This was second time. But so we looked over, and they said, "Oh, there wasn't a driver." So we drive up, and then yeah, there wasn't a driver, but there was a guy in the back. And we said, "Hey, how's it going?" Guess we go good. And we're like, "So, what are you doing?" He said, "Oh, this is a taxi. It's a pretty good price." So I'm just taking the taxi. But anyways, generally, you have a car, and the car has a driver. So we could just think about the traditional cars that are mostly on the roads these days. So similarly, the body is like a car, and the driver is moving the car. So that's one of the principles. And we see that within this story that desires are like a fire. If we keep on putting fuel on the fire, it just keeps on getting bigger and bigger. It won't go out. Much we put fuel on. The advertisers know this. That's why they're very good at putting fuel on the fire to try to get us to buy certain things, and they're very successful. Yeah. So the idea is that what is advised in Bhagavad Gita and other such spiritual books is that we try to put fuel on the fire of, say, spiritual desire. We all have some spiritual desire, I suspect. We have some spiritual desire burning there like a fire, so we just keep on putting fuel on it, and it becomes stronger and stronger. That's the idea. I just like this picture, so I added it. But one thing is, there's a reason, but I did think it was a nice picture. There's a lot of information in this age. We're all practically all of us are carrying around phones. Maybe all of us here have a phone in our pocket right now. And we subscribe to this news, maybe, or that news, or whatever. There's a lot of things to subscribe to. But let's just take a look at the news, or not take a look at it. But it can be very overwhelming. I mean, I understand the necessity of knowing what's going on within one's town or within the world. There's some need for that, someone may argue. But again, it could just be really overload. Especially you get all these notifications, news notification, ding, 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 or whatever. It's somehow they're notifying you or notifying us. So it's advised to again, that's another thing to try to cap or try not to let get out of control, because that could be really consuming. Sometimes people take news fasts. They fast from the news, for example. So that's something to think about. Here, anyone know what this is? guys. This is Wonder Bread at Walmart. If you look this up, if you look it up, what is the most disliked food for Americans? And somehow this is one of the things that come up.
Wow.
Wonder Bread from Walmart. I'm not sure why.
Did they eat it specifically from Walmart?
Well, I guess maybe not from Walmart, but
In this situation.
But I
I was
guess-
like very confused
yeah,
about that.
yeah, maybe not. Yeah, I guess not exactly from Walmart. But Wonder Bread. I guess they sell it other places too. That's true. So Wonder Bread. Now, this is here for a reason. By the way. Now, thinking about this Wonder Bread, if this was our only choice, and not only just this Wonder Bread, but just imagine it being very stale, like expired and stale, just old. Now, if that was our only choice, or one of our only choices, then, we kind of make it work somehow. We just deal with it. But if we're able to have another option, then definitely we go for that. For example, here's some more nicer looking. If you had this as an option, that okay, you get some nice, fresh, organic, farm grown, with love and devotion, avocados and fresh corn and tomatoes, and you have this wheat, flour, tortilla, homemade. It's very nice. In general, but in comparison to this stale Wonder Bread, which I guess a lot of people don't like anyways, whether it's stale or not. So similarly, within our lives, the varieties of material happiness, the varieties of experience is limited and ultimately not fully satisfying. So therefore there's the principle of higher taste. We need to get a higher taste, higher spiritual happiness. So you got the Wonder Bread here. So there's different options we can take in our life. And the higher taste, or that higher transcendental happiness that is above the body, that is above the mind, that is above, is completely transcendental and ever increasing, can be obtained through different spiritual practices. Of course, these are some japa beats, some chanting beats. So as bhakti practitioners, bhakti yoga practitioners, we chant at least 2 hours a day. But people could start with one round, and go around once, 108 times. This is very powerful practice that that will gradually rise one far above the material platforms and put one on the stage of transcendental happiness. And most importantly, you have kirtan. Like we were just chanting, we were just having some kirtan with musical instruments. It's a very powerful process. The sound captures our minds. The sound lifts us up off of the material platform and places us in transcendental happiness. And it's very wonderful, especially when it's accompanied by nice music like drums and kartals and different musical instruments. And it's free, you don't have to pay anything. And it's available at any particular time. And there's so many recordings, for example, of kirtans that can be listened to. And it's a wonderful way to just get together and connect with each other on the spiritual platform. Despite our age or whatever else. It connects us all. So yeah, kirtan's very powerful. So if we're able to take shelter of this kirtan, this Hare Krishna kirtan, Hare Krishna chanting, then we won't fall into such traps as was seen in the story. And of course, you may say, well, I'll never fall into such things. But even there's lesser degrees of traps we won't fall into. We'll be free from the big traps, the small traps. We'll be free from the tendency to fall into illusion, and we'll be completely satisfied and happy. All right. So, does anyone have any question or comment? Please feel free. Don't be shy. Yes.
You want to say something?
I didn't have my hand raised.
Okay. I had a reflection.
Yeah, reflection.
Story. One of my spiritual teacher. He was managing a temple in Juhu in Bombay, and at the time it was very difficult because they were starting off. It was a very difficult land to build this temple, and they were experiencing a lot of hardships. Especially even the government was actually corrupting against them to not allow them to build this temple, and so many other difficulties and facets. And so that also had an impact on the devotees and the monks who were living there. And so, living in such difficult situations, he found that this personality, he found that when all these people were coming and complaining to him because he was managing this whole thing. So he had to handle these people coming up to him and expressing their difficulties, and this person's doing this to me, and you're doing this to me and upsetting me. And so he discussed with his guru, spiritual master Srila Prabhupada, about this problem. He said, I don't know what to do because there's so many problems that are happening, and I can't seem to solve all these problems. I can't put out all these fires. And so what Srila Prabhupada told him was that, okay, you do 24 hours of kirtan on Sunday. And he was like, we have so much to do, we can't do 24 hours of kirtan together. I said, okay, you do 12 hours of kirtan together. We have so much service to do, we still can't do 12 hours of kirtan together. And then they said, okay, fine. They eventually got down to 6 hours. So what Maharaj started doing was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, people were coming up to him and expressing their difficulties and problems. With another devotee, or maybe with him personally, or other things. And he said, okay, we'll wait till Monday. We'll wait till the weekend ends. We have our kirtan on Sunday. Make sure you're there for that. And what happened is that 90% of the people that were expressing their difficulties and problems ended up not coming on Monday, because what Balarama Prabhu is saying, his ability to do kirtan, it brings everyone together on a much higher platform. You forget those things that are causing such trouble to the mind. So it just, when you were speaking about that, it made me think of that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
now I have something to say. In defense of Walt Disney, I don't believe it was entirely his fault. He is an animator. I think he was working with a large company, and he was doing a lot of political cartoons first, and then started to get into animation. And long story, I did some research on him as an entrepreneur. But at any rate, he didn't tell our parents to buy those stories to read to us. The first line of defense and our first teachers are our caretakers.
Yeah.
And a lot of those stories, like you say, were kind of gruesome.
Yeah.
And a lot of them he took from the Brothers Grimm. They were like the first main storytellers for children at the time. And I wouldn't say medieval Europe, but it was a long time ago. Like Cinderella doesn't go like how the Disney Cinderella goes either. Like
Oh, yeah, definitely.
sisters literally chopped off their toes to fit in the shoe
Wow.
to be, I guess, presented to the prince like, hey, I'm one, right? So I didn't learn about Brothers Grimm until what, 5th grade. I had some really base teachers, and they were like, yeah, the story doesn't go like how they say. But to bring it back to the title, right? I think the whole idea is if our parents teach us well, then the results hopefully will be closer to what they would teach us. Unfortunately, all of us didn't get that kind of upbringing.
Yeah.
And I would like to throw into decipher the idea of karmic relationships. You know, even if you had the right intentions, the stars didn't line up, like another storyline with Shakespeare, who did a whole lot of another relationships in regards to, you know, families fighting each other, or
Yeah.
stories of Othello, and, you know, other tales that we can go on and on and on about. But it all, the root of the majority of the stories, whether it was the Lion King, the Jungle Book, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, it had something to do with the foundation of the family. And unfortunately, that doesn't always work out right. And aside from reading the Bhagavad Gita and Kirtan, what else are we to do to maybe, you know, patch up those holes that didn't get filled right growing up, to avoid those temptations and desires and so forth.
Yeah, thank you. There's a lot of conditioning that goes on growing up, like watching all these movies. It's conditioning, you know, it conditions us a certain way. And like you said, you know, it's not that Walt Disney, you know, like forced these movies, but our parents, you know, they made the choice. And I mean, you know, he did create them very attractively, right? But yeah, I mean, coming to the point of right now, it's like whatever particular conditioning we have developed, you know, it's there with us. It's not so easy to just, you know, wipe away certain ideas or certain things that were just based on illusion, you know, or, you know, not in reality. So you could say that we could try to retrain our mind. And that's, yeah, pretty much what we're doing. We're like rewiring our mind. You know, how do we see the world? How do we see people? And how do we see ourselves? How do we see, how do we, when we think of things, you know, we can make a list, okay? If someone makes a list, for example, like they do this exercise, mental exercise. You make a list of all the things that you take as important. People put health, their religion, family, you know, all these different things people put, right? Money, whatever. People put different things. So then you make a line there, and then for each thing you say, okay, how much time do I spend on this every week? People say, oh, okay, reading's important. Okay, how much time do I spend doing that? You know? So sometimes there's a disconnect between what we maybe are convinced that is important and how much time we're actually putting into it. I can say maybe we don't have time or this and that, whatever, but there's different things, different ways to look at it. But when we rewire our minds, then we will, what we thought was important before may not be so important to us now. But you know, other things are more important. Just like when we mature naturally. Okay, I'll just, you know, use myself as an example. Not generalize. But you know, when I was a child, I would hang out with my cousin, and we would have these little cars. They're still around, Hot Wheels. Yeah, still around. Little cars. We liked them a lot. So what we would do is we would go to the, you know, in my cousin's house, we'd go to the bathroom, and there'd be an empty bathtub there, and then we would, you know, it would go up, then is fun. But, you know, I would take it as myself maturing that I don't spend, you know, as much time doing that now. I still do it, I'm just joking. So like naturally our desires change, or say our desires mature in certain ways. But it is important, this idea of rewiring our mind, or as the terminology is in Krishna consciousness or Bhakti Yoga, okay, we purify our consciousness, like Lord Chaitanya says, or Chaito Darpana Marjanam, the mind is like a mirror, so we cleanse that mirror, and then we see ourselves properly. We see ourselves in truth and everything else. So that could start from an early age, like a child. A child can be educated a certain way, and then carry that on into their lives. But if that hasn't happened, then you know we can start at whatever particular point we are, whatever age we are now. So that's just if that satisfies you to some degree. Any other? Yes.
Yeah, I want to offer another
my
perspective.
old friend from San Diego.
Yes, glad I remember.
I don't want to say old, but my friend from San Diego.
Time flies. Yeah, so in my grad school, I study something that I never really get to use in my career, but it was called media ecology, and it
Is that
was
like school in general.
yeah, it was just theory, but it is based on a lot of facts. Basically, we study about how the media, the films, and different art forms are used in political propaganda,
Oh yeah.
or you know, like, and it could be for political purpose, or it could be for commercial purpose, for
Yeah.
making profits. And there's a whole science about it. I mean, I studied for 2 years as a
Yeah.
master's degree, like how to.
Yeah.
Like you learn the techniques, how to, for example, during World War II, how the films, Hollywood was used as propaganda to rally the country to support the wars, to kill people.
Yeah.
And you know, like, so, yeah, you know, a lot of Disney stuff are innocent, but I remember, I remember
racist
seeing,
caricatures and stuff. Like,
yeah,
and
it
so
was,
you watch as an adult. Walt Disney was very racist, and he actually donated money like towards the Nazi regime. If you do more research on Walt Disney, I don't know if you guys went into like what he did with all his money. That's why also there's
Yeah.
a story about like
yeah,
his great
but it was all
grandfather.
hidden, right?
Yeah,
It's
it was always
yeah,
secrecy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you go to the Disney film and then Happy Ever After, and then you go home and your parents are getting a divorce. It's like, how could that be?
Yeah.
That's not, you know, that's like, I can't accept that, you know, that is, that's no way.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. So I was like, I couldn't deal with it. I was like, what happened to the prince and princess? You know, what's it's terror. You know, it's like it was. And then I did get into the industry in the, you know, what I did, especially when I was in San Diego. I was working on a lot of feature films, but as an artist, we really focused on the artistry, like the art form, the aesthetic, and everything. But the script writer, they're really like they control the message that's being, and the parents are being brainwashed. Then how do you expect the parents to educate their kids, you know, if they grow up believing in the same theology? So this whole thing, I don't know, recently I feel like this whole paradigm is cracking because of a lot of events that's happening. And, you know, like,
Okay, we just have one. Yes, and then two.
Really quick.
We're kind of short for
Okay,
time,
all right,
actually.
one last one, and then we can talk after if you want to talk.
To the general point of what everybody's sharing, you mentioned the word Nazis. I don't want to get too deep into that rabbit hole. I'm just going to say the word propaganda. That was and is still alive and kicking. You can see it
Every day,
on,
yeah.
I mean, turn on the news, turn on the radio. There's so much. in regards to like cartoons, for example, when you see them as a child as compared to seeing them as an adult, there's people out there that will, their life's purpose is to take broad pieces of information and literally put them into segments in which they're actually pointing out those behaviors that were imprinted in cartoons that are like vulgarly obvious to the adult eye, but not to the child's eye. When you get to an age of being an adult, what happens? You've lived so many episodes of your life that if you sit with yourself, you're like, oh, did I behave that way because I saw that cartoon? Duh, no. But those cartoons, like, I don't know about you, I would wake up on a Saturday morning, yay, cartoons, and then would go my father, no, it's cleaning day. But I would still go around and get to the TV and sit down and, again, recycle myself on the same cartoons over and over again. That gets in there. I mean, it's common sense. When you get to be an adult, there's an amount of behaviors that have been ingrained by truly yours.
Yeah. All right, so thank you all very much. If you want, we could, I'm free to talk to anybody if you want to talk more. I think we can move on to the next stage.
So we have very, very short kirtan.
Okay.
Maybe like 5 minutes, and then we'll serve out prasad.
Yes.
Give a round of applause for Balarama. Yeah, all of us also for, I appreciated how everyone has like different perspectives also, like for really actually healthy things in spiritual life. So thank you for my we have a short kirtan now, and maybe like 5 or 10 minutes. And then we just serve out the shaman, and like you said, you have a chance you can ask more questions if you need. We can each other discuss a little bit.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare
a chance to talk to each other. Thank you everyone for coming again. I think we're just gonna bring out the plates and everything's made. And San Antonio, you have it your phone? We can listen to it.
What's that?
Your phone, we can. I like Brother Bear a lot.
Shreyasyan nishtitam bruhitan me